Welcome to the First Act Break Podcast, Episode 2. I'm Richard Lee.
I am Jiayang. Today we're going to be talking about what is USC Film School? How do you get in? What makes it such a good place? And some advice for people who are looking at film schools.
That's right. Let's dive right in. So,
I'll tell you a funny story.
yeah, first off, funny story.
I was in my cinematography class a few days ago.
Yeah.
And we were taking attendance.
Mm-hmm.
Semester just started, so the professor doesn't really know any people's names. And she gets to my name, starts getting confused on how to pronounce it, as all professors do.
Right.
And I correct her. I was like, it's pronounced Jiayang.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, oh, and looks up at me. And she was like, are you the kid who made that How to Get Into USC video? And I was like, what? Like, how did you know? And I, like, the whole class, like, there's people in that class, like, that are my friends who watched that video.
Right.
So it was like, everyone started laughing. And it was really funny that the professor who's, like, such a veteran in the industry just, like, stumbled upon that video. And it's also crazy because she works at admissions for the USC Film School.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to her
Oh, that kind of makes sense then.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I talked to her during the break, and I'm like, what did you think of the video? And she was like, well, I didn't get to watch the whole thing. But she's seen videos similar to that where they give like a step-by-step application process where they're like, for this, you got to submit this, for this. And she was like, students that listen to that guy, I don't admit because I want to see. And she shared a secret of how to actually get into film school that we'll get to in a bit. But she told me that she didn't want those kind of videos. And I was like, well, you know what? My video isn't like that. Even though I don't remember what I really said in that video. It was like 3 years ago. And so she was like, I'm going to go watch it afterwards and see how it is. So I hope she watches it and likes it. But
yeah, I'm sure she will. I mean, I think a lot of people got in through your video, right?
I don't know.
I think you've had students come up to you.
I have had
like,
people come
hey,
up.
I watched your video, and that's kind of how I got in.
I love when they do that because then it kind of breaks that barrier between viewer and creator. It's like we are all one community, and it's like just come up, say hi.
Yeah.
Love to meet everybody. Really, want to grab coffee? Just let me know.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your application process because you're in high school, just finished standardized tests. How was that whole process like for you? Did you get a tutor? How did that work?
We kind of touched on it last episode, but I'll expand it more here. Yeah. So for me, again, I kind of applied to college without considering film school as my major or anything. And so then I didn't really apply as a film major at all. I knew going in that it was going to be somewhat of a hobby, so I just applied to college as a humanities major. I was into storytelling already and into the whole idea of the monomyth, which is an idea popularized by Joseph Campbell and is used by George Lucas, as a storytelling tool, the story circle, hero's journey, and all that. So that was kind of the main part of my application, was that as a driving force of my curiosity and my academic interest for the most part. And so it wasn't really film, it was humanities. It was whatever major the school offered. I think for some schools I applied as English major. Others, at USC I applied as narrative studies, which some of our friends are part of. It kind of blends film and novels or literature and theater and all that together.
Right.
So Common App, essays, high school grades, all the standard stuff you need. So I didn't really have a portfolio. So that was my case. And I got into USC. Out of all the colleges I applied to, it was objectively, if you look at all the college ranking websites, it was the highest ranking one. And it just made sense to me that if I was into film and it was also at the same time the best college that I got into, then that just made all the best sense to me and my parents. So I basically committed around March of 21, or I think it was May of 21-ish, around that time, early in the year. Got in, flew all the way from Beijing to here. It was still the pandemic. Came here, and within the first about month or so during my freshman year, it was already an eye-opening experience for me because I was taking a class full-on just on filmmaking. And I was like, there's no way I can't give this thing a try.
Right.
And so I did. I told my parents, I'm just gonna apply because why not? It doesn't cost a lot. I think the application fee was like $20 or something, and applied, wrote my essays, and I thought I should apply as a cinema studies major because it felt like the right choice for me. I didn't have a lot of work behind me or that I've done before, and so it was all about essays and what I think about cinema and what I think about this art form and the history of it and the future of it. So I wrote a bunch of essays on it, got in, and I was really excited, and so were my parents. And that's kind of how I got my start. And since then, I basically started being involved in productions, hopping on set. My first position was like a second AC and all that. And so for me, the application process wasn't as complicated as the production major, which I'm sure is a bit more complicated and involves a little bit more planning and portfolio building. So if you want to expand a little bit more on that on your end when you were a high school senior.
Yeah, I mean, I started getting ready for the application a while before the application process started. It actually started during COVID, a year before I applied, when I spent every day studying for the ACT because I knew that was one of the hardest things for me is that standardized test score. And I know it became test optional at the time, but I did get a high enough score at the time. I took that ACT like officially like 3 times, unofficially like 16 times. First time I got it 19 out of 36, which is really sad. But the last time,
I got started somewhere.
And then my final one was a 32 out of 36, and I was literally one question away from a 33. Doesn't matter though, I got in. But the thing is, like, I spent so long preparing for that. It was crazy. And now looking back, it's like, wow, I literally just spent like a year studying for a test. Doesn't matter though, because at the end of the day, I got to the goal I wanted to, which is to get to USC. And then the process, it was definitely a lot. So much materials needed, a lot of prep time needed ahead of time. So I feel like if you are applying to film school, you definitely should apply and get your materials in way more in advance before the application like opens. For example, like they ask for the media samples or really make your film early, write your film early on, and then just get good at the craft of filmmaking, right? I mean, I don't want to be like concrete, like this is exactly what you have to do to get into USC, but there's certain things that you have to meet the threshold to be really considered.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more on that later. I think the main difference between production students and non-production students at the film school is just like we had coming into USC, we had to do more than just the writing and essays and grades. It was like a lot of things to demonstrate who we are as a storyteller. I think that's so important to embrace your originality, your authenticity.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It's really showing that you are who you are. So for me, I grew up in Wyoming, but I was from Beijing. And I really tapped into that identity with my essays, with the film I made about this guy on a ranch who's like a runner who wants to leave the town but doesn't want to leave his grandfather behind, and really just tap into who you are. And it doesn't have to really at all be high production value. One of my best friends at USC, Alex, he made a film about a dude who just like leaves his hometown and misses his hometown when he goes to the city. And the whole thing is black and white photographs, just like put together with a voiceover. So simple, so easy. You can film it, no budget needed. And he got in it. But I also know people who spend like 10 grand.
Right.
I'm not going to say who, but I know people who spend 10 grand on their application movie and also got in. So it really doesn't matter. I think what matters is to show a unique person, a unique storyteller, someone who's confident in their identity. I think it's so huge.
Yeah.
And for you, like, what did you talk about in your application essay? I'm so curious.
Yeah, wow. From what I remember, I only spent about a week or so, 2 weeks maybe, working on it because
that's a long time.
the semester already kind of started, and I think it was due around September, mid to late September, and we start in late August, so that was about a month. But then I only realized that I really wanted to apply around very early to mid September, so I had about a week or two to prep it.
And this was after you got into USC?
Yeah, this was already freshman year 2021, August 2021. And I started writing, the prompt was like, I think it was just, what do you think about film and why this major and whatnot. I think what I wrote was this idea of like moments and time. I drew some quotes from the great Andrei Tarkovsky, from Peter Docter, from Richard Linklater. Something I find common in their work is their exploration of existence in time. And, Tarkovsky has his own theory about sculpting in time and how that's unique to the art of film. So I kind of relied on that, slightly pretentious with the, Tarkovsky stuff, but I thought it was, really what I felt. It was, whenever you're watching a movie, it's this transcendental experience where you're thrown into a different way of looking at time and space, and how there are only moments that we live for. There's only the now. It's one moment after another that somehow creates a unique story. And what's interesting about film is it's able to, jump ahead in hundreds of years with just one cut, in 2001. But then you can also make something like Richard Linklater where, it's a very contained story that happens in one day, or a chronicle of someone's life over 12 years. So it was just this idea of how moments add up in life and how that differs from film, and how film is a way to explore that. I can't remember the exact details. I thought it was pretty well written. If I look back on it, it might change. But I do remember it was pretty personal in terms of just how I really felt about the art form. And it's interesting because I think if I look back on it now, it's interesting to see how I felt about it at that time versus how I feel about it now, and if there's any differences. But I think most of it still held true. So
nice.
That was the main part. And then I think there was a personal statement, or was that the personal statement? I think that was just a personal statement. And there were, I think, 2 other essays about why you want to pursue this major and what it'll help you in your career and your time at USC. So that was the main part. And there was a slide room application as well, I believe. It was not as extensive, but it was sort of a short portfolio list, I think. It wasn't at all serious, but it was like a list of, it wasn't even creative work. It was just your written work. And, I submitted my Macbeth essay from high school because I thought our high school was very focused on English, and we have a pretty rigorous program there. And I just pulled like the best essay I had from high school and with the highest grade, submitted it. I thought it was a good literary analysis and everything. And since film studies is kind of English but with film, I submitted it, and I got in, I think, around October-ish, or November, October-ish, whatever. But yeah, it was really exciting when I found out the news. It was kind of a dream come true moment for me. I still remember how happy I was because it went from like something that I only thought about when I was very little to like a reality, which is quite exciting if you can imagine. It's it's from 0 to 1. So I was very fond of that memory.
Nice. Yeah.
Talk about a little bit about how, when you found out, the schools that you got into, including USC, and how that felt like for you.
Okay, so, I actually applied at USC summer program a year before I applied to the actual film school. And I remember when I first got my acceptance to the summer program, I jumped out of my seat. I like ran down my hallway just yelling. Fast forward a week into that program, I dropped it because I was like, wait, low-key, it's not that helpful. But really? That's another topic. But my reaction, I recorded my reaction for every application, every acceptance. It was so surreal. And the fact that I got to be with my mom when I saw the letter coming from USC made it more special, I think.
Yeah, I jumped out, and I remember my mom saying that was like one of the happiest moments I've seen you. Because I also jumped out. I was like, there's no way.
I was so happy. Yeah. Like, did you jump up like for the USC Film School, or you just
it was USC? Actually just USC. And I think upon reflection, nice, when my mom and I talk about it, she was like, yeah, I feel like you already had your heart set on the film school and the film program. So
No, I remember it was funny because I had a similar idea to you, but that was when I wanted maybe to study CS, and I wanted to go to Stanford for CS. Ooh. But I'm like, I'm good at film, so maybe I'll get into Stanford through film and transfer to CS. Yeah. But then I just ended up like that's a stupid idea. I'm just gonna pursue film, which is actually the thing I want to do.
Right.
But yeah, no, I was so excited that day. That day was stressful because the acceptance notice didn't come out until really late in the day. It was like supposed to come out on that day, and it was like 4 p.m. and it was still not out. And I was like, this is the day when it come out. Maybe like I didn't get it. But then one of my friends texted me. He was like, yo, did you get the notification? Because he also applied to USC. And he was like one of the only people in my high school that applied there. Yeah. He eventually went to NYU, but he told me he didn't get in. And I was like, oh shoot, I didn't even get an email notifying me. I went to the portal. It's there. So they updated my status without emailing me. Right. So I was so scared. I click on it and I see those fight on little symbols like floating.
Yeah,
and I was like,
the confettis and everything.
Yes, and I was just like, that definitely changed my life. Like coming to USC.
Pivotal moment.
One of the most pivotal moments. I remember I was so happy for the whole week. Yeah. This is every moment of my day. I just felt so happy because I've been in that small town in Wyoming for 7 years, and I knew I had to get out of there and pursue my dream with the best people I could surround myself with. And that's when I knew that I could finally do that, because I didn't go to like a private like institution growing up, but I knew I wanted to be with the best. And when I found out, I was so happy. But I was really cautious because I was like, that idea where it's like when something really good happens to your life, you're like,
yeah, you're a little
something
bit scared.
Bad might happen.
Something bad is gonna happen next. Yeah.
I was driving so carefully. Like I was like, no, I am not getting a car accident. I'm not gonna get shot. I'm not gonna get kidnapped. Like this is but thankfully nothing happened. And I'm at USC, and this is my dream. Yeah, and it's amazing. Yeah, I do want to hear about your mindset when it came to USC because. I know you applied to so many Ivy Leagues. Would you have chosen, like, if you got into Harvard, theoretically speaking, but you also got into USC Film School, which one would you have picked?
That's a great question because I have a story about it. So I did also apply to Stanford, and just kind of for the fun of it, I mean, I had no expectations going in. Applied, and actually, surprisingly, I got an interview from an alum. And that was kind of the process. It was like, if they consider the application strong enough, then we'll have someone who have graduated interview you and go through that process. I thought it went well. A couple weeks later, I think, I actually got waitlisted off of Stanford, which to this day I'm slightly proud of, actually really proud of, because, it wasn't a straight up rejection from Stanford, right? And Stanford is a huge name. So, and at that point, I've already gotten into USC. I've already received the acceptance letter. I hadn't committed yet. And so one day during lunch, my dad just asked me, like, okay, I'm going to ask you a question, and you have to answer it in 5 seconds. I think it was 5 seconds. And I was like, okay, go ahead. I'm kind of ready, I guess. And he goes, if Stanford accepts you right now, and you have to choose between Stanford and USC, which one would you choose? And I kid you not, I just straight up said USC.
Wow.
I had no hesitation. And
that's amazing. And it wasn't even in the film school at the point.
No, it wasn't even at the film school at the point. And then I think my dad just kind of understood that I had a strong sort of inclination to the film, the idea of even being close to that world.
Wow, okay.
And he was actually really happy about it because it showed that I was determined and I had a strong opinion about something, which he really values. And so, yeah, I mean, I didn't really wait for the Stanford results, which honestly, I don't even really know how I made that decision really that quickly, but it just felt instinctual that if I had to choose between, pursuing what I truly love at the best place to do it versus this idea of, going to Ivy League and doing something that I'm not really passionate about.
Right.
It felt like, you only live once, and so then that's what I chose. But so back to your question. Yeah. Harvard, basically is Stanford. They're synonymous. I would say, I mean, that kind of gives you the answer. I was pretty determined on just committing to USC.
There was no other school that you debated with?
Not really. I mean, I got into some colleges in the UK.
Oh, wow.
In the film program. But then, you know, it's LA, USC versus the UK, which, no disrespect to the United Kingdom. I mean, UK, some British films are amazing, but you know, if you wanted to pursue, I mean, I think it's common knowledge among at least people from our age group. Yeah. You know, if you're in high school, if you're early in college, I think USC is the golden standard for pursuing film. I think that's true across the globe, I would say. I mean, you look at some of the graduates, it's pretty obvious that this is the place to be. So yeah, that was awesome. I was pretty much committed at that point. So
yeah, I mean, I was debating as well. I remember growing up in middle school, my grandpa would always joke about, or not even joke about, like, just be like manifesting, like, he's like, you're gonna go to Harvard one day, Harvard this. Yeah. And I just thought it was like, you know what, just random nonsense. But then I got to the application process and I was like really thinking about maybe I should apply to Harvard, because, you know, they have a film analysis program and it's Harvard, right? Yeah. It's like, what if I get into both? Right. I can do a little poll on my Instagram story to flex. Yeah. But I ended up not doing it because there's other schools I thought were better. I feel like I probably would have gotten more out of like Chapman Film School than Harvard Business or Harvard Film Studies, just because it's like film studies. Like, who wants to do film studies?
I'll say really? So too, yeah.
And so I never applied there, but I really debated between Chapman and USC, actually. Yeah. The film schools, because I got like a half scholarship to Chapman.
Oh, okay.
Which, you know, was a huge deal, and I did so much research on the difference between the two film schools. Yeah. And I think the thing that made me decide on USC was the fact that it is USC. Like, the brand, really, it wasn't just one art school. It's more like a whole institution, and the film school is just, you know, towards the center of it, whereas Chapman is mainly focused on the film program there. And I wanted that college experience where it's like college football game day, you know, these are all the alums from, you know, USC. And also I wanted to be like a director producer, so I felt like Chapman's more towards the technical side of things. Yeah. So I ended up picking USC, and it was the best decision ever, really. Yeah. It took me a few days to really decide, because, you know, it is a good scholarship. But ultimately I was like, USC is the place I wanted to be, you know. And I do want to hear your opinion. If you got into Harvard or Stanford, which one would you pick, theoretically speaking?
Like between Harvard and Stanford?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a difficult question. I mean, I went to high school in the East Coast, so I think.
So Harvard.
If I were back in high school, I think the safe choice would be Harvard, in the sense that it's close and I'm used to it. But I think I also would love a change of pace and a change of scenery and everything by going to Stanford.
So, okay, if you graduated high school, you know, offer two options: USC Film School or Harvard Business School. Which one would you pick?
I mean, USC. I mean, at least, okay. Back in if I was a high school senior applying to college. Yeah. Which, I mean, the story I just told you, I think that pretty much sums it up.
What about USC Film School or assistant to Christopher Nolan?
Theoretically.
You always have
probably assistant to Christopher Nolan.
You would not go to college?
No. Wow. If I had that position.
Yeah. But it's like, you're not guaranteed to be his assistant forever.
How long? For one film?
You never. No, not for one film. Just until you get fired.
So it could be one day.
It could be one day.
Well, then,
or it could be
USC college. Years. Then, I mean, if you frame it as one film, guaranteed, I'm hired. And unless something terribly goes wrong, like I get sick or like I'm just entirely untrustworthy, and they realize that I'm not a good hire and fire me, and if it's a guarantee for one film, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna take that, because I don't think if I have that on my resume. That's true. I don't think that you don't really. I mean, you could still go back to school, but it's just having that on your resume is such a good.
It's huge.
It's huge, yeah. I mean, I think. What would you think if that?
No, I think I would probably take a gap year, and then
just to do that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You can
and then
quit,
go back. Yeah.
You know? And if it's great, then you don't have to quit.
Yeah.
But, I do want to. Are there any schools that rejected you?
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
What are some of the like the lower tier schools that rejected you that you're like, what the heck?
I didn't apply to. Actually, I didn't apply to NYU because I knew I didn't.
Huh. Okay.
Did you apply to NYU?
I did.
You did?
I got waitlisted
Right.
at NYU.
The reason I didn't want that was because NYU didn't really have a campus.
Right. Yeah.
It felt like I was just straight up thrown to a huge city, which has its advantages, right? You kind of just learn about how to survive and navigate a huge city, metropolis. I didn't really kind of want that. I felt like if I was to go to college, I'd still wanted some kind of environment which felt like I was in a college campus.
Yeah.
I felt like NYU, obviously it has its buildings, but you know, it's all blended into the larger New York City vibe. And so didn't apply to NYU, applied to USC, applied to Tufts, applied to Boston College, Boston University.
You got in? BU?
Got into BU.
I got rejected from BU.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I got rejected from Tufts.
Oh,
I actually found out back to back from USC. So I first discovered, it was the same day that Tufts and USC came out. And straight up rejection from Tufts.
Which came first?
Tufts.
Oh, that must have been hard. Yeah.
So my heart sunk.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, there's no way, because USC with every ranking, ranked above Tufts, and if you look at the acceptance rate, it was lower. And I checked, and it was a straight acceptance, which really shocked me. So that was really great. And where else? King's College London, which I got in, and I didn't get into UCL, University College London.
Oh, okay.
Which is actually the college that Christopher Nolan went to for English literature.
Uh-huh.
Didn't get in. Where else did I apply to? That was about it. I applied to Columbia, early action, or early. What was it called? Early action, early decision. ED, early decision.
Oh wow! So
yeah, so I was pretty. If I got in, that was it. Yeah, I know.
That's bold.
It was a different. It would have been a different world. Yeah, Columbia.
Okay.
And I think I got waitlisted.
I see.
And then I was kind of sad about it because I thought I had it. Didn't get in, which honestly probably turned out for the best.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything really turns out for the best,
yeah.
I think.
And I think that was about it. Boston College, Boston University, Tufts.
Dude, I got rejected from UCLA, bro.
Me too.
UCLA.
All the UC brand I got rejected, besides, I think, UC Santa Barbara.
Oh, okay.
I got rejected from UCSD, from UCLA, from...
UCI?
Berkeley. I didn't apply to UCI.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. Yeah.
I got into UCI.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let's go. Yeah. Anteaters.
Some of our friends, cinema friends, DPs actually go to
really?
UCI. So.
There's a lot of Orange County people who are into
OC guys. Yeah, OC people from, who do film.
Yeah, it's crazy because I don't know, like, the whole process is so, like, intricate and complex, and it's, like, so subjective, too.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also... ways you can figure out how to like kind of put yourself above other people when it comes to your application strength. How was the interview process? Did you get interviewed by USC?
No, actually.
Okay.
I don't think I did that. I think only a couple colleges did that. Stanford did that.
Did you? What other schools did you interview for?
Northwestern, I think, which rejected me. Northwestern, I think, interviewed me. I can't exactly remember, but a couple, not a lot. I think what I remember was Stanford being the only one that stood out to me because the interviewer was pretty memorable. But yeah, I was wondering if you apply to colleges without the film program, because I know you applied to Chapman and USC and NYU for film. So were there any other programs that you applied to, and how did that affect your decision?
No, that's a good question. So I was making my list of film schools. Yeah, and I was like, if I don't get into the top like 10 best film schools, like one of them, I'm just not gonna do film, and I'm gonna either do law or do business. And I actually got rejected for LMU for film, but I got into their business school. Oh, which I don't know why. I don't know. I actually don't know why at all. Yeah. But besides them, it was mostly just like most are film production, and there's a few film analysis classes or degrees. Yeah. But it was mostly just film. I was like, I have to do it, And also for the interview process for me, I interviewed 3 times, and I actually really liked the interview process just because at the time I was like,
this is for USC or LMU?
I did 3 interviews, once for USC, once for FSU.
Gotcha.
one's for Chemin.
FSU as in Full Sail?
No, it's Florida State.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
And yeah, no, I mean, I was like a speech and debate kid at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, I love talking. And people never really asked me about film.
Yeah.
So when someone actually asked me about my filmmaking journey, I was like, yo, let's go, you know?
Yeah.
So I had a really good time on all the interviews. For the USC interview, I actually like looked up the lady who was part of the interview and who was my interviewer.
Yeah.
And I found out that she was like an editor. So I was like, I kind of turned my conversation to like touch that a little bit. And yeah, I think my advice for like interviewers, like just like to be yourself and just show that you're a passionate film person, but also show that you do more than just like making movies. You know, they want to get like a full person who's like diverse and stuff. And yeah, I remember FSU, they were like, you have to come to FSU campus to do the interview, but it was during COVID.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, then no, because it's COVID. And they're like, well, that's our policy.
That's actually kind of, is that really a great decision on their part? I mean,
don't know.
would someone just travel from their home to
right
just for an interview and then come back during COVID?
Exactly. And I was like,
move it on Zoom.
If you don't, let me interview, I'm just not gonna like keep going with this application process.
I'm sure a lot of other people felt that way.
Yeah, it was, but then they compromised and let me do an on Zoom one. But it was funny because during my Zoom one, everyone else in the Zoom lobby were all international people, and they told me like, either you're international or you can't, like you have to come here. And I'm like, well, I still like didn't felt comfortable doing that. So, but then I became really good friends with a lot of people in my Zoom lobby, who are the coolest people. None of them go to USC. One of them go to FSU. One of them go to NYU. One of them, they're all over the place. And that was like my first touch of like other film people, and I was just so happy with it. Discovering this community through film school is just like one of the best things ever. It really is, especially if you're from a place where you're not surrounded by creatives all day. Like I'm imagining if you're from OC, like you're with film people all the time, but if you're not, it's like such a magical moment, to be honest.
It is oh my gosh, I think we touched on it last episode, but going from, in my high school was pretty STEM focused. It had a good English program. It had a good theater program. It had good emphasis on the arts, photography, painting, pottery too.
Okay.
And then I think there was just the one singular class offered on filmmaking. And it was taught by the photography teacher who is awesome, who's great. I love having his class, but it was just the program itself was not developed whatsoever. It was a very fundamental beginner sort of, a very intro to film kind of program, which is great, but it just we just didn't have that atmosphere. I mean, everyone was doing painting, everyone was doing theater, joining bands. I was in jazz band.
Wow. What'd you do in jazz band?
Just keys, piano.
You play piano?
I do.
How did I not know this?
Really?
I've never.
I think it's because I think it's because it's hard because you have to find a piano or a keyboard.
You have one in your apartment, right?
I do. Yeah, I don't play as much anymore. I really should, but
that's so cool.
Yeah, so that was. There was a lot of arts, but there wasn't filmmaking. I think I was along with like maybe two other people at my high school was either into videography or was sort of into cinema, as in watching movies and and breaking them apart like you do Macbeth or The Bluest Eye in English class. So yeah, that transition from that to all of a sudden over the course of a year, 90%, 80% of my friend group were filmmakers and actors and DPs. Is mind-blowing. It was a great transition. I'm sure you felt the same way.
Yeah, dude. I was like, I felt like I changed personalities when I stepped into USC campus. I was so much more like extroverted. I was like trying to meet everybody,
Same.
And because before I just like really didn't have a huge like motivation to meet everybody. It's like I didn't really care that much. But then at USC, I was like, wow, like this is such a cool place with like the nicest people. Yeah. Like I feel like the quality of people here are really just like top tier. Yeah. Like not just the way they think, it's like the way they carry themselves. I mean, of course, there's gonna find people that don't really fit your vibe, but more often than not, it's very nice and very genuine, talented people that you find here. Absolutely. In every field. Yeah. It's so diverse. Yeah. So, I mean, how was your first year at USC? Because that was towards the end of COVID, so I'm sure you had to wear masks everywhere. Like, what was your impression of the school like?
A lot of masks, obviously, for COVID. Took a lot of GEs just to figure out what I really wanted to do. Because at that point, I wasn't, again, really fully 100% committed to film. I took, philosophy classes, introduction to cinema, a couple others. CS, actually, introduction to Python.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which my dad kind of talked me into taking. It was an elective, but it was fun. Slightly challenging, but it was fun. So, yeah, it was kind of a whirlwind, if I remember. I mean, it's COVID was a huge part of it. And I was not on a singular film set my first semester of freshman year. One of the reasons being I didn't want to step right into all of it in the beginning. I think maybe I was on one film set, and it wasn't even like truly a film set. It was just a couple friends with a camera trying to make stuff, that kind of deal, not full on got a grip truck, all the lighting equipment and an ARRI or something. It wasn't like anything like that. And so for me, it was all about, let's figure out this place first. And, I got into the film program halfway through first semester anyway. So I'm meeting people. I met a bunch of friends, both inside and outside of USC. Bunch of actors, freelance, assistant cameras, more actors, more DPs, actors, both within and outside of USC. So it was a lot of it was about just soaking it all in and adapting to a new environment. Yeah, so the first semester, it was all about adapting. It was about soaking it all in, meeting as many people as I can, trying to figure out what this campus is about and what this city is about.
Right.
Second semester was when I first started to, go, okay, let's try to hop on, a movie set. And the first one I hopped on, it was amazing. It was such an eye-opening experience.
What was the first one you hopped on?
It was called The Story of This Life. By you probably heard of it. Alex Jiayang was the
right. Cool.
She was also on Dive Into the Blue, which we touched on last episode.
Yes, she
was a director along with two other producers with whom I still have contact today, and it was great. I had no idea, for the most part, I had no idea what was going on. There were walkies all over the place. There was these stands with 3 legs and an arm and some knobs.
What is that? What's it called?
I have no idea what it was called.
Okay.
And I was like, what the hell is that? What is this? I've never seen this thing before. And then I think people were just like, oh, it's a C-stand, which we have set up right here.
Now it's all over our studio.
It's all over the place. We got 2 of them in this one room.
Here, let me take a video for our viewers. Here is the video.
We got one here.
We got one
mic
here
for later.
Yeah, so I guess if you're watching on YouTube, you can see what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, yeah, I didn't know what a C-stand really was, so I learned all of that. I learned, what is a first AD? What is how do you script supervise? I mean, I think I script supervised for a little bit because somebody else was sick, so I had to take photos of the monitor and write down notes and continuity and. Back then it was just, I knew what continuity was. I knew what script supervising was just from YouTube videos and, learning filmmaking yourself. But then doing it for real really changed the equation for me. And so from then on, I started just getting on as many sets as I possibly can in different positions.
Right.
I did second AC, I did sound. I did a lot of boom opping actually because I was told that it's, it's physically demanding.
Yeah.
But you really do get to observe a lot about how a set operates.
And you're tall. So, you have the long arms. You can.
True. That's anywhere. True. A lot of people kind of just knew me as the boom operator, and they just kept asking oh, would you be down a boom op? In freshman year, I was like, oh yeah. Overnight. I mean, I did a whole overnight shoot just as boom op from 2 to 6, just to experience how it felt. Freshman year.
Did you like that?
It was fun. It was a really fun shoot, and seeing how it all came together and how I contributed to a part of that was amazing. I mean, gotta start from somewhere, you know, and
right.
So yeah, that was kind of my second semester was focused on trying to go on set more and seeing what that's all about and learning the ins and outs of production. So there was definitely a strong learning curve, you know. I mean, to this day, I still haven't learned everything, but I think over the years I've definitely have a firmer grasp about how to set things up, how to produce a movie, you know, how to pull things together. And you don't have to know everything.
Right.
You just have to maybe know a little bit, slightly about everything, but not to the point where you're an expert, because that'll take years. And the point of producing then is to pull it all together. So that was my freshman year. It was adapting and being like a sponge that just, you know, soaked in information.
Analogy, absolutely.
Yeah. What about you? I'm sure it was about the same, but a little bit different because you jumped right into the production major.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea of being on someone else's set was so foreign to me before coming to college. Because in Wyoming, no one was filming anything, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends who was filming anything.
Just you and your camera and your friends.
Exactly. And it wasn't like a professional set at all. However, I got to USC and I joined these, like, you know, there's so many group chats out there. So I was in this one group chat where they're like, yo, does anyone have, like, can someone do camera operating? And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be the next Christopher Nolan, like, tomorrow. So
I feel you.
I sent over my director's reel, and they were just really shocked by how good it was. I guess that's what they said.
Yeah.
Oh, they were like, does anyone know how to use a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera? And then that's the one I used.
There you go.
Yes. So when I got that gig immediately, I was so excited. Like, I was in my GSM class.
Yeah,
GSM, I was like, oh my God, dude, I got camera operator. It was the craziest thing.
Oh, I bet.
Ooh, I have a friend named Colin who's a freshman right now, and I see a lot of me in him. Whereas every time anything really, like, somewhat cool happens, he is so excited, and that was me, like, freshman year.
Yeah.
Just he's so enthusiastic about every little film related thing.
Yeah.
You know, Christopher Nolan does like a post and he like reposts it, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like that energy. You know, I really love that energy, and that was what I had freshman year. I just like
Same.
I hear second AC and I'm like,
same.
Oh my God,
No way, I got AC. It. Yeah.
You know, every upperclassman, I just viewed them as like a heavenly figure.
Yeah, they're kind of like gods who are looking down upon us, and we're trying to catch up. Yeah,
so sick. I was, you know, trying to get every single gig possible. I got two AC gigs like for the same weekend. I'm like, but which one do I pick? I need to do the second AC thing. And it was like, and I was so intimidated to first AC. I was so intimidated to script supervision because I was like, what is that? Like, I'm gonna screw it up. I was like, I couldn't do it. And I remember the first time I even slated, I was just like nervous to say the number. I said the number like in my head so many times, like scene 1, take 1, mark or something. And I was like, I said it so many times before I actually did it. And yeah, fast forward now, I'm like just old. I'm about to retire.
Same. I feel that way too. I mean, gosh, I mean, it's so strange sort of looking back onto freshman year and even sophomore year, just that kind of energy where you're really just soaking everything in. Like you said, you know, you're so excited about another set because you get to, and another part of being on set is meeting people. And once you meet someone, they kind of can recommend you to some other set. Exactly. This happened to me on Diving to the Blue, actually, or it was something else that was right after that, I think. And that's how I got to know Justin, who I just produced a film for, and that's how we got connected. So it's really this space where, and then that's something I also really quickly learned, I'm sure you did as well, is how small this world can be. Because you know, every time after set, I think there's this session of where people just ask each other's Instagram and try to get connected. And then after a while, you kind of see, oh, so you know this person, you know that person, and then they're like, oh, I've worked with him or her on this set before, and that's how we knew each other. And it's happened so frequently that to this day, I think that's one of the most wonderful things about, at least on our level, you know, when we're trying to pull a film together, we kind of have the same. Yeah. There's a lot of people, but same groups where there's somebody always knows somebody else and there's some kind of connection being made. And I think that's one of the most wonderful things about student productions on our level, where or even, you know, commercial level, people know each other, and I think that's such a strong totally. Vibe, and it's so important to have that community.
And it's crazy because I don't think I remember the last time I tried to follow someone on Instagram who's in film who I didn't have mutuals with. Like, exactly. I met a few new people on my internship this week, and I have mutuals with all of them, and I was like, wow, like, that's crazy. No matter who, unless they have like 10 followers, then it's like a little harder. Right. But it's such a small world, and it's crazy. Yeah. And I think my freshman year, I mean, outside of film, I was also like pushing myself to do everything except
absolutely
partying. Actually, it's funny because I basically went to like 1 or 2 parties my whole freshman. I barely went to any parties in college, really, which is kind of just my personality.
Definitely not for everyone.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I remember I was just like so driven, I think, all those years.
I could tell.
I wanted to do everything, you know.
Right.
And I don't know, at some point, you know, I feel like I still am, but I'm like shifting my focus offset to more, you know, developmental stuff, writing stuff, and directing myself.
Same.
And I could see that shift in my DMs too, where people don't really ask me to grip anymore.
Exactly. The people don't ask me to boom up anymore after a bit. You know, I just because I don't do it, and then they just slowly. And then there's a couple times during my junior year.
Yeah.
People will still reach out to me and be like, "Hey, I heard you boomed up on the set. Would you be down to do this?" I'm like, probably not, man. I mean, unless it's a paid gig, I don't think I want to spend, you know,
Christopher Nolan's movie.
Yeah, or that. And I don't want to, you know, spend a whole day just holding up a. It's important, no disrespect, but you know,
our passion
at some point
has changed, and that's happens to everybody, and it doesn't happen to everyone. And it's funny because like. Yeah, no, most of my friends now, they don't really like to be on set like at all,
really
too much anymore.
Yeah,
like all the people in my cohort, and I get it, you know.
I think at some point, it's not about being on set. I think at some point it's about getting to the core of your story and your characters. I mean, if you're not, you know, a writer or director, if you're more focused on DP, then maybe that's a different story, but. At some point, I think it's about honing your craft offset, you know, living life, experiencing things, writing them down, finding inspiration from everywhere, and then going back on set to learn the technical and craft aspects of it, because obviously that's important. But at some point, you know, you are really just trying to develop your own projects, or, you know, be more. Say above the line, you know, producing, DPing, directing, writing, you know.
It's funny. Sometimes when I go on a set and I'm like first AC or something, people are shocked. They're like, "Why are you first AC?" I'm like, "Why can't I first AC?"
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and they were shocked that it was my first time first ACing too, because I was scared of first ACing for so long. But then I learned how to use the nucleus.
Yeah.
And I love using that nucleus.
Yeah. It's pretty satisfying,
it's the best
right?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a video game.
Yeah, it is a video game.
What are some memorable professors or classes you've taken over the last few years at USC?
I really enjoyed Hitchcock class.
Oh wow, okay. What's
film
that?
studies. It dives into the auteur's sort of filmography and how influential it was.
Oh, okay.
I think Hitchcock was someone who I always, for some reason, never really got into. I think part of the reason is because of how, I guess you could say, how old it is compared to, you know, some of the other movies that might inspire us. I don't know. I think movies I was into, I think the earlier ones were probably in the 70s and 80s. Probably that's as far as back as I allow myself to watch stuff. But I think I kind of just forced myself to learn about Hitchcock and how he influenced filmmakers today, because, you know, you hear his name everywhere. Bong Joon-ho pays a homage to him in Parasite, and that's just one of like hundreds, if not thousands, of examples. And that really got me into learning how much today's filmmakers and your favorite movie directors rely on a lot of the storytelling techniques and form and style and everything from him. You look at Anatomy of a Fall. You look at a lot of Jane Campion's movies, Christopher Nolan's movies, even Mission Impossible. You know, the thriller story and all that, suspense building. A lot of it is from Hitchcock. A lot of it is from North by Northwest. A lot of it is from Vertigo. You look at The Substance. There's literally a score in that movie that is straight up from Vertigo.
Wow.
And it's a moment that remnants. I won't spoil it here, but you see it everywhere. It's everywhere. And that's how I think eye-opening some of the film studies classes are, is you realize how much history and how much influence some of the old masters really do have on today's filmmakers. And I think it allowed me to sort of accept and open myself up to more different forms of cinema in terms of time, in terms of region, country, form, you know, documentary, experimental, from wherever. And that's something that Martin Scorsese also champions. You know, he sort of forces himself to watch stuff that he might not instinctually want to watch, just to be inspired and see what other filmmakers are doing. So that was one. And then I think the other class that I really enjoyed was 290.
Oh, yes, the production class.
Yeah, production class. You took it last year.
Yeah.
For me, it was, oh my gosh, I mean, I kind of thought of it at that time and still think of it as the most sort of free form of filmmaking at USC, in the sense that there's not a lot at stake. You have a little camera and you just film a movie with your friends and whoever you can pull together, you just do it. There's not a lot of, you know, it's not as big as a 310, which is the junior thesis class. It's not as big as 480, obviously, which is the senior thesis class. And it really allowed me to have this sort of freedom to explore and do things I haven't done before. So for the 3 films, which we were supposed to make throughout the semester, first one, it was something I've never made before. It was sort of this montagey Edgar Wright kind of movie where I was trying to imitate his visual style. Second one was heavily inspired by this Chinese movie called In the Heat of the Sun. Again, kind of imitation, but infusing some kind of personal perspective to it. It was probably the most personal film I made in that class, maybe ever. And then the third one I made was sort of an imitation on Richard Linklater. It was this sort of contained story. So a lot of it is about trying different things out and seeing what I can do with my camera that I've never done before. So that was definitely one of my favorites because it doesn't have the burden of like, we invested so much time and money into this one thing and everything has to come together for it to all work. And instead it was all about, you know, it kind of goes back to the run and gun idea when you're first starting out, is you have someone working the camera and it's you and it's the sound recordist maybe. And you just go ahead and make it, but on a slightly more professional level because you have, you know, friends who can help you out. You have the theater school students who are actors or aspiring actors. You know, that doesn't really come along that easily when you're in high school or Wyoming, you know.
Yeah.
So those were I would say those 2 were the most influential classes that I took here.
Awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I took so many production classes. It was really slow at the beginning, to be honest. Like, we first semester freshman year, we didn't really do any production. It was mostly just analysis and general education stuff. Yeah, which was so boring, to be honest. Wish we jumped in there more. But the first production class I took was 285 with our professor, who's Ben Hansford. He was the coolest guy. He's super big into AI, and that class kind of showed me why USC was such a cool place, because they had access to some of the most advanced like AI technology, beta tests that they let us use. But the whole class we shot on iPhone. Some people, sneakily use their cameras. I'm not gonna say who, but whatever. And yeah, it was such a great class. And then I took 290 the semester after, which is the one you were talking about. I really took what you said to heart, which was just experiment, play around. Do what you normally don't do.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I also wanted to put a lot of effort into them too, because I didn't want to just like
half-ass it.
Yeah. Because I'm like, commitment. If I want to make a movie, I might as well just like really try to
invest
make something.
To it.
Make something as best as I could.
Yeah.
First film I made was about a guy daydreaming, or not dreaming. A guy having a nightmare about his roommate, which was a direct recreation of my dream that I had.
Wow.
I woke up from that
Very
dream.
Lynchian of you.
No, it was crazy because I
Rest in
woke up
peace.
from that dream and I was like, I know I have to make exactly that dream into a movie.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the characters are a little different in the
Mm-hmm.
real dream. And then the next movie I made, the Tongue movie. It's on my
Tongue
YouTube
Twisters.
channel.
Yeah.
That was a movie because my bike got stolen and I was like, I'm gonna make
Hey, that's a
movie.
personal angle into the story.
Right. And then the third one was football players versus musicians as a musical noir. It's getting finished. I got the score, 2/3 of it done. I'll show you afterwards. But yeah, Take the Field. And then I took another class after that called 294, which I made a movie about a city of clay things.
Yeah, very experimental.
But also
claymation,
like, put a lot of work
stop
into
motion.
it. Yeah, called City of Meat. It's on my YouTube channel. And then 310 after that, which I made the Melodies of War, which is the World War II movie.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, like all of these movies, I do try to go experimental with it, just doing as much as I could, but also trying to keep it like more as professional as I could. With these films, like try to really put in a lot of work into it. You really don't have to, but I just thought, I could die any day, and
that's a good mindset. Yeah,
if that's the last movie I want to make. That's going to be something I'm proud of.
Yeah, live life with a little bit more urgency. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually heard that idea from one of my classmates who I'm going to bring on next week, Octavian.
Yeah.
And he can speak more on his philosophy on filmmaking. But yeah, no, it was like definitely something I care a lot about. Just like making something as best you could every time.
Yeah.
And I want to hear, are there some fun outside of film moments at USC that you experienced?
Oh, wow.
You be going to the club sometimes.
I did party a lot freshman year.
Right.
Because I think it was an opportunity for me to open up, and I was told to get out of my two things from mentors, teachers, peers, whatever. One is get out of your comfort zone, challenge yourself, do things that make you a little bit uncomfortable. And then number two is to find your people. So the way I did the first one was to just go to parties. I followed my freshman year roommate who went to parties a lot, and I kind of just went along wherever he went. It was great. It was awesome. It was a great way to open myself up, because I did not go to a lot of parties in high school. I mean, even the dances or whatever events we had, I tried to avoid them. I was very introverted. I kept to myself pretty much 24/7. I was locked in on academics, had no real energy or attention paid to my social life. So I would say outside of film, that was definitely a big part of it my freshman year. I joined the ping pong club for 2 months.
Oh my god, not the ping pong club.
Before I quit, because
the
I realized
posse.
Ping pong posse, yeah.
That's what they call
And I quit after
Why?
I think 2 months, because I wasn't really good. People were way too good in that club. I thought I was good.
I also tried to join. Funny story.
What
they
happened?
were, I don't know. I showed up with my friend Jerry.
Yeah.
And we were just like playing, and they were like, "You gotta pay." And I'm like,
"Oh, yeah. that was a part of it too." Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, let me see if I even want to do this club thing. At least let me play once.
Yeah.
Where's the free trial at?
Yeah.
Not 30 days, maybe 1 hour.
Yeah.
And we were just playing. The club president or some guy just came up to me and just took my paddle. And I was like, "Dude, what? Like,
that's crazy.
That's like."
Wow. That didn't happen to me. But.
And I was like, "Wow, like I don't. Like, why would I join a club where first of all they treat you like that?
Yeah.
And second, like, I don't even know if I want to really do ping pong like that. I want to see how the club works.
Yeah.
So I never came back.
My main reason was I just wasn't good. I just quit.
We should play sometimes just together.
It'll be fun, yeah.
Oh, we can play tennis or pickleball.
Tennis too. Tennis was something I picked up in college too. I was playing with you and some other friends.
Yes, I would love to. Justin
that was
plays
a bit
tennis.
Fun. That was fun. Yeah, Justin does. Yeah.
Kai. Kai's really good.
I've heard he's pretty good, and he also does videography. Yeah.
He's videography for the Bengals now.
Yeah, which is huge, right?
NFL, yeah.
Yeah, good for him. Cool. He's into that, and that's a great career path.
He's a genuinely nice person.
Yeah,
super cool guy.
I think freshman year was about casting a wide net of everyone, trying to just soak it all in. And then sophomore year was about sort of focusing on, because then you've already learned what the school was about and what this town is about, and so then it becomes a question of how do you best spend your time and maximize your the things you've learned. And I think that I kind of just cut out a lot of quote unquote like extracurricular stuff that I did. I was pretty much fully dedicated to filmmaking.
Right. No, me too. Yeah.
I didn't really join. I mean, I went to the beach a lot. I tried surfing. Once.
Wow.
Didn't stand up. Wasn't able to stand up, but that was fun. It felt like I was flying.
That's so funny.
That was freshman year too. So I did try a lot of things freshman year.
Did you go skiing? That was your
skiing was fun. Yeah, skiing, and then going to field trips and hikes. I picked up hiking a little bit, hoping to do more. So yeah, those are some of the things I do outside of film. But the film can take a lot of time out of you.
It does, yeah.
Sometimes you just have to sacrifice and dedicate
I
it
highly recommend college students to really find stuff outside their major to do.
Absolutely.
Especially like for health too. It's like you want to find some activities that get you moving a little bit. It's for me, I like playing flag football.
Flag football, yeah, that's right.
Or just going to the gym. I think it's so important.
Going to the gym.
Developing a passion and like really doing outside of film that keeps you fit and like healthy. I think it's important.
Yeah, I've been just running every morning, trying to.
Wow, good. Do you run on the street or on the treadmill?
On the street, treadmill, both.
You're a very daring person. You're brave for running on the street.
I know it's not very flat, and also it's just not the best place, I guess, to run.
Yeah.
In the morning. But rowing. I did rowing in high school.
Oh wow.
And so sometimes I go to the gym on the erg.
Did you try to apply to the USC rowing team? Like
I looked at it. And I just realized that that's, first of all, too much of a commitment.
Yeah.
And two, everyone was like bigger and taller and stronger and bigger than me, and I just didn't feel like if I wanted to do filmmaking, why do I? And that's even just the club level.
Right.
Like it wasn't really competitive. It was just, come join, have fun, but it's not really. It's 6 a.m. every other day. Go to the boat, row. I did kind of something like that in high school. It was every afternoon, but was not a fan of it. In many ways, it was a really great way to sort of build sportsmanship, to build teamwork, to build resilience and grit, and make your body more fit, and mentally stronger as well. So that part helped. I guess a lot of it really was quite challenging and quite difficult, and I just didn't want to do that in college again. But I do still go to the rowing machine and the gym sometimes, because it's actually a great way to train and to get fit, and it's short. You can just do it for 20 minutes or like 10-minute intervals for 30-40 minutes, and it can be pretty exhausting.
Dude, I know that athletes at USC aren't allowed to do they're not allowed to be a film major here.
Oh really?
Yeah, I
didn't actually know that.
I know
that totally makes sense.
Right.
100% makes sense. There's no way you can do 310 and compete in like lacrosse or football.
Whatever.
No way. Yeah.
Because there was a girl who was in my cohort freshman year. I think it was freshman year, and she was her name is Yusra, who was on the Olympic team for swimming.
Yeah.
And they made a Netflix documentary about her. Super nice person. We talked a few times, and she was in the film program, and she told us she had to pick between a swimming career or a film career, and she chose film. Really respect that. Yeah. And no, the commitment to film is quite like heavy at USC and so rigorous. Yeah. But if you love it, it's really not too hard. It's not as hard as people say. Yeah. What are okay, here, let's play a game. It's not really a game. What are 3 advice you would give students who are applying to film school? What are 3 advice you would give students who are at film school? Yeah. What are 3 advice you're giving people who can't go to film school?
That's great. So that's what, 9 pieces of advice.
Yep. Here we can alternate. So you'll give one first. I'll give.
So let's start from applying.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 1, don't focus on equipment and focus on your unique self.
Cool. For me, I think it's to do things in high school way ahead of time to show that you're like a passionate filmmaker, whether it's starting a filmmaking club, whether it's attending film festivals, whether it's, you know, building your portfolio, just like preparing ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Second one for me is do everything, in the sense that, you know, you want to do film, but show that you also are curious and passionate about other things, whether it's, you know, debate, whether it's some kind of sport, some kind of extracurricular, you know, community service, research, whatever, you know, something outside of it. I think that, I'm not sure how much emphasis USC puts on it, but I think that's, you know, to show that you're a holistic person, and that, you know, you're not, oh my gosh, you know, film is everything to me, I dedicating my life to it. It's a good mindset to have, but I think, you know, as a high school student, you should have more on your plate. Be a more colorful applicant.
I think advice I would have, I really like what you said, by the way. That's exactly what the admissions person told me. It's like just to be, you know, more of a fuller person that's not just a film person.
Yeah.
For me, I would also say, like, don't make sure you're not copying other people, really. Be your own story.
Yeah.
There's so many videos out there on, like, what I wrote on my essay. You know, there's so much stuff online. It's like, you know, ask ChatGPT, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, that's not what gets you in.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing gets you in is yourself. Like,
absolutely.
Your truest, most authentic story.
Yeah.
All right, last advice for our high school applicants.
Get some sleep.
Don't stress too much.
Yeah. I mean, it can be stressful. I mean, especially because it's such a big point in your life. I'd say take it easy. I mean, like you said, things work themselves out. Just do your best. Try not to, because I think I definitely pushed myself a little too hard when I was a senior in high school, you know, with applying to colleges, and then COVID and everything. It was just a lot. And so I would say take a step back and really make sure to take care of yourself first.
I love that.
Yeah.
My advice would be, if you made it to the interview part, really do some mock interviews, practice what you're gonna say.
Very practical.
You know, like, there's gonna be the standard questions like, why do you like USC? What questions do you have for me? Why are you doing film? So really practice those with someone, with an audience member. So, because that's one of the biggest, like, last things for the application is that interview. So really take it seriously and prepare for it, and just, like, relax and be yourself for that. All right, so advice for someone who's at USC already. And let's say they are freshmen. Yep, these are questions would be for freshmen.
Freshman. Oh,
I was so lost freshman year. I literally asked my friend, I was like, who's an upperclassman, he's a grad student. I was like, does it get easier? Because I was so lost in everything. So I'm sure there's so much you can talk about.
Yeah, I think I'll totally pass this advice. I mentioned it before, but it's to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, this is true for not just film kids. I think college is this great hub of people from different backgrounds and experiences and different interests and passions, and really try to do stuff that you wouldn't normally do, you know. Try things. Be like a sponge. Be like water. Both sponge and water. You know, you should be, you know, like Bruce Lee said, be like water, you know, be flexible, try to be a little bit of everyone, and then also be a sponge that soaks it all up. That would be my advice.
My first piece of advice would be being independent, being comfortable by yourself. A lot of times, you know, in high school, you're just going with your friends to the gym, going with your friends to eat. But in college, you got to be comfortable going to the gym by yourself, going to the dining hall by yourself, buying groceries by yourself. That's huge. That's the next step to adulthood, I think, is that comfortability and not dependent on anyone, because you really can't depend on anyone really fully. So I think it's huge to be comfortable by yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't, like, obviously I recommend finding your group of people, your friends, and build your network, but also be comfortable by yourself.
I absolutely agree. It's something my mom always tells me is in Chinese, and I can't really say it in English, but in English, it's something like,
well, say it in Chinese.
Heroes can withstand loneliness, and the Chinese is 英雄耐得住寂寞.
Yes.
And my dad has said that kind of changed his life and his perspective on things, because it kind of implies patience, but it also implies that if you have something that you really want to achieve and you really want to do, and you have to, part of it really is about dedicating yourself. And sometimes it can be lonely, you know, not everyone will be on board, not everyone will be there with you, but you have to walk that path anyways. So I think I guess that's my second advice, you know, like you said, going off of you, I think a lot of it is about patience too. It can be grueling, or it can be, it can feel a little bit lonely when you say, oh, why am I doing this all by myself when, I see everyone else hanging out. But that's kind of an illusion, because everyone has to be by themselves a lot of the time. And especially when you're out of college, a lot of the community doesn't come with you. So
I think a huge thing, this is not the second piece of advice, but just going off what you have to say, like FOMO is real, but
oh my
you
gosh,
have to get over that.
Yeah, get over FOMO.
Like, you see people partying, like, don't have that urge to feel bad, because like
absolutely.
At the end of the day, like, we're on different paths, you know. You see someone doing this, that's fun, or they invite you to this and you feel obligated to go, but you're not, you know. And that was something I was proud of my freshman year self, was everyone's leaving the dorm to go partying, and I was like a part of me was like, am I missing out on college? But also I'm just like, you know, I know what I want to do, and
that's great.
I'm locked in, and I'm really happy my freshman year roommate Nansen, he was also like one of those non-partiers. So we would both stay home and we'd both like just work on ourselves. And that's
awesome. That's really great.
It was nice.
You can't always just follow the crowd.
Following the crowd is, you get the idea. It's like, you don't want to be the average, you know. You want to do your own thing. And my second piece of advice is staying organized. Whether it is your dorm room, keeping everything clean, being a more minimalist because you are in college, right? And also whether it's to organize your calendar, your time, organizing your homework or assignments whenever that's due, your projects, huge. Gonna make you way more time efficient. So
this is my second or third?
Third.
This might be your third as well. I'm not sure. But
I can always change it.
This is something that we talked about a lot, and a lot of people feel is don't really compare yourself to others. I think this is a lifelong kind of understanding. I mean, it's really easy to just be in the mindset of like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Why is that person better than me? Imposter syndrome too. Like, you look at someone who's younger than you or your age, and you go, how? Why am I not there yet? What am I doing wrong? And that can be poison. And, there's good to comparison. There's some good to comparison in the sense that you can extract what someone else is doing right and then employ it to your own life and your own pursuit and your own endeavors. That's the healthy part. The unhealthy part is going, I'm not there yet. Then thus, I'm not as good. I'm inferior. And that's not the right mindset to go about. And especially in film school, that's really easy to do, is to see, oh, this person has, gotten his film there. I haven't. And I'm such a loser and I haven't achieved anything. That can be really easy that's a trap. And I think both of us have had to deal with that and overcome it. So I think that's my third piece of advice, is if you're a freshman and you're in film and you're soaking it all in and there's people on different levels, I would say try to keep your feet to the ground and just focus on yourself.
Yeah. I do love what you said, because freshman year I very distinctly remember many of my friends saying that they had imposter syndrome because, they just got into the best film school. Yeah,
going from wherever they are to all of a sudden a hub
the best people.
Arguably the best young filmmakers in the world. Yeah,
and I just like to speak on imposter syndrome. It's just like, a lot of times you chase success, but imposter syndrome comes from success. It comes from you finally are successful now, and now you feel bad about it. Whereas this is where I think you got to chase the process instead of the end goal, because the end goal can always bring a lot more things you don't want. And I think my third piece of advice is to really think about the future instead of just letting yourself flow through the day. Really think about what your next step is, what your goals are, what you want to do, and just don't just go with the flow and just carve your own path, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's just be intentional with the time you spend, because really college goes by so fast.
Absolutely.
People say that to me all the time my freshman year, and the crazy thing is I believe them, and there's nothing I can do about it.
And you still should believe it, because I'm here in my last semester, and I can't believe that this is the last 4 months. I have 4 months, not even 4, like 3 and 20 something days.
Yeah, really take advantage of your time in college. Like, it goes by so fast. And also bonus advice, because I think people need to hear this. Really take care of yourself. Get that 8 hours of sleep.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I mean, essential, I would say. I mean, this is an essential skill to build while you're still in this safety net.
You're building the foundation for the rest of your life, right?
Oh,
now,
yeah.
You know?
Eat well, sleep well, take care of your mental health. Exercise.
Yeah.
Hang out with your friends. Don't just, stay in your dorm room and,
Another bonus. Don't forget your friends from back home. Don't forget your parents.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, huge.
Stay in contact with them. There are 3 advice for people who, let's say, weren't able to get into film school or don't have the ability to go to film school.
Right. Or, but still want to do film.
Yes.
My one is probably just don't be embarrassed to cold reach out to people. Actually, I think I pretty much learned this from you.
Oh, really?
Actually, I think the idea that I think a lot of it is false. The sense that people don't want to get back to you. They're on their high position, and you're I think it's really important to reach out to people on wherever, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and just tell them how much you enjoy what they do and that you want to connect and learn from them and maybe build something together. I think that would be my number one advice, is that if you know nobody, if you have no connection and you want to pursue a career in filmmaking, wherever you are, there's got to be somebody in your area that does videography, that does some kind of video work.
Yeah.
Reach out to them, see what they know, get on top of their projects, be involved, and then just, I would say do that.
Yeah, I think getting an internship or job in the film-related world, that's basically like film school, but also like, definitely different people, but you'll learn a lot that you won't learn in film school, which is how the business works, how the real world works. So I think it's very important to, build that experience early on at a job.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino worked at a video store. Right? Yeah. You can really do anything. And, on the side, you can be writing, you can be, planning your next project. But yeah, definitely, don't be afraid to jump to the next step, which is adult life at a job. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, going off of that, I think, this is something similar. I think just build your network.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically the same advice I gave, but the idea is that,
And what are some ways you would build a network outside of film school?
I mean, again, cold reach out to people. I think there are online kind of communities,
totally,
on YouTube, Instagram, wherever, that celebrates film, and writers' rooms, wherever. Yeah. I'm sure there are group chats.
Film festivals.
Film festivals, that's a big one. Attend those. And then in terms of networking, I think this is something Barry Jenkins said, actually. I watched in a clip earlier, a couple of weeks ago, where he said that don't just network, but also build people around you that can grow with you. And this is something that I've been told a lot throughout film school, is to, sure, you want to know people who are on the higher ups, but ultimately the people who are going to stay with you are the people who are on your level, and then bring those people and then grow together. I think that's even if you're not in film school, grab someone who knows a little bit more about camera than you do. Maybe you have someone who knows someone who does audio and can record sound for you. Start a production company that way. We know those people. Shoot a commercial for your local coffee shop. Whatever, get your, that's how you get started. And then cold email to people and see what advice they can give. I would say that's the big one.
Yeah, I think just like building your brand. I think branding yourself, like marketing yourself as someone who maybe DPs, you have your reel, you make some spec work for people, you shoot weddings, you shoot photography, or if you're a director, writing your own thing. And just really putting yourself out there, because if you don't have the school to bring other people to you, you got to put yourself out there. So I think that's my second advice.
My third one, this applies to kind of everyone, but watch movies. If you're not in film school, and you probably have a phone that can shoot video, great, go create, like we said. But I think one of the biggest sources to learn filmmaking is cinema. There's so much out there, and I don't mean just, obviously there's a lot of content on YouTube, whatever, and those are great, and some of them actually turn into movies. But I would, again, go back to Hitchcock. Watch some Hitchcock, watch some old Hollywood, and then work your way to the 70s and then 80s. Work through the classics, and then go to the niche films that you don't even hear about in places. Identify your voice in the way that, in the sense that you watch movies and you find what you like, what you don't like, what's somewhere in between. And then eventually you'll be able to go, hey, I keep watching this director's movie, or I keep watching this writer's movies. And that's exactly the things that I like to create. And then on top of that, how can I contribute my own voice and make it something fresh? I think that's my biggest advice, because there's so much out there and it's hard to narrow down exactly the kind of, like a Christopher Nolan movie is so different from a Richard Linklater movie.
Yeah.
In terms of scale, in terms of theme, in terms of budget, so different. And then by watching movies, you get to figure out over time what kind of movies you like to make.
Yeah. For my third piece of advice, I do want to some people to know, if you belong to the group of people who we're addressing these advice to, know that sometimes maybe not going to film school is the best thing to happen to you. Don't feel like just because you can't get in or you don't have the ability to go to film school, there's something 100%, wrong, right?
100%.
There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of the greatest filmmakers did not go to film school. And, I do have a lot of friends at the film school who don't think it's that good of a place, and we can talk
Same
about...
here. I know people who aren't in film school and who actually very much dislike the idea of film school.
Yes.
So
there's people of all perspectives. We'll bring them on in future episodes. But here is my secret list of getting better at film without film school. And I'm just going to throw everything I know right now.
Yeah.
So first of all, I love what you said about the movies. Absolutely watch everything.
Yeah.
All the new releases, all the old movies, all the classic, every Oscar winner, every Sundance winner, all the short films on YouTube. Scour the internet for every possible thing. Download a Letterboxd. If you don't have a Letterboxd,
hop on.
You just gotta organize what you watch, and Letterboxd more intentional with watching movies. To write, like keep writing. Just write as much as you can. Try to write a script a month, or write a feature film, write a pilot. Just really try to write and get better at writing with reps, and also be making content constantly. If you want to direct, like really find actors out there and just like direct them. Don't have to be in film school to direct people. You put out an ad on Breakdown, find people, shoot a little scene. That's how you get good at directing. And then read a lot of scripts, understand how the best of the people, like they write their screenplays. IMDb, IMSDB, something like that. I don't know. Just really try to write a lot. Just keep making stuff. Read a lot of books on filmmaking, on storytelling, on creativity. Watch a lot of YouTube videos like mine. Just keep learning everything. Live life. Try to live all, experience everything. Travel is huge. Broadening your perspective. Be talking to people. Have that curiosity out there. Really want to talk to a lot of people and just get their stories. Shoot people's everything. Just like be filming. Practice your cinematography. Practice production design. Just like make stuff yourself. Make a feature film. Nothing's stopping you, and you have all the time, because you don't have to worry about doing general education work or CS classes.
That's right.
So, I hope all these advice were able to help all our listeners. This is towards the end of your film school career. Would you say film school is worth it?
I would say so, absolutely. And I think this is something that the people who are ahead of me, people who have already graduated, and when I was a freshman, they were, junior, whatever. The biggest takeaway is the people, because one of the hardest things when you're not in film school is to find a close-knit community around you that can help you and grow together and collaborate. That's the biggest part, because all the, technical and craft elements, you can find those on YouTube and books and watching movies, and slowly you just get a sense of that. But then if you're all by yourself, if you have like maybe 2 to 3 friends, that's great. But in the long run, you'd want people who are equally as passionate, if not more, and who are skilled at things you might not be great at. So I think it was worth it because of the people that I've met,
that's awesome.
Yourself included. And it's the people. It's the collaborators, it's the people who have different perspectives. And then I guess another point is obviously the resources, in the sense that we do have a lot of great guests. I got to meet Damien Chazelle. I got to meet Chloe Zhao, Sean Baker. These people are kind of my heroes. And it's only by being here that I think I got to meet them, which is such a privilege. I mean, gosh, if somebody told my 16, 15-year-old self that one day I got to shake Damien Chazelle's hand, got to meet Sean Baker and Chloe Zhao and who else? A lot of other people. I wouldn't believe it. So I think, yeah, the people and the resources.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the collection of the top talented people of our age range in one place.
Yeah.
So much creativity, so much passion between everyone, so much like different perspectives when it comes to filmmaking. Like some people like to make westerns, some people like to go crazy with the edits.
Yeah. And different
it's amazing.
Crafts too. Some people really just want a DP. Others just want to write.
Mm-hmm.
And they just focus on the writing and the story part of it.
Yeah.
Others really just want to direct.
Yeah.
Others just like lighting. Others just like editing. It's all very diverse.
And yeah, so much talent. And even people who don't advertise all their talent, you can see through the way they think about art.
Yeah.
Is so unique. And just love working with all these people,
Yeah.
All right, well, I mean, I hope this episode's been helpful to everyone, whether it is you are trying to apply to USC Film School or some other film school, or you're trying to get the most out of the film school. This is the place for you, and we are going to figure out what's next, after film school, right?
Yeah.
This is what this film school is part of the first act. And
it is.
The break is what's after school.
Yeah.
What's the career? What's industry like?
Yeah.
So stay tuned for more episodes on that.
Stay tuned. All right.
Peace out.
Peace out.